Well, hey everybody, it is Romania Black, and we're on episode 9 of Odd Taxi. And I actually had to take a little bit of a break after recording episode 8 because I needed to get caught up on other shows on my channel. So I watched ahead on Odd Taxi, and now I'm like playing catch up with other shows. And so, yeah, the rule of 8 did not let us down last week. Eiji is just being held hostage by Yano at this point. Dobu wants to rob a bank for reasons, and Odokawa has been basically strung along beside him. So what can we do? But I want to talk real quick about a couple of things. One, I know about the audio dramas. So I know in recent episodes, like background episodes 4 and 5 and 6, people have been asking about them. I know about the audio dramas. I've already got everything planned. The only thing I'm waiting to hear from Discord is whether I need to watch them immediately after the series or watch the audio dramas after the movie, aka OVA, whatever it is. So once I find that out from Discord, I will probably know that for recording, but I am going to react to the audio dramas. Do not worry, that's gonna happen. It's just now a matter of when, but it'll be after the series is over. I'm gonna do them all together, kind of like what I do with the Apothecary Diaries, with the chibi shorts that come after that series, and Cherry Magic, and so on and so forth. We'll just do that. I know that the only thing I know about the audio drama is that they've been happening in between the episodes. But at this point, I'm already 9 episodes in. So I'm just going to group them all together and we can do like a retrospective maybe after the series, before the movie, unless we need to watch the movie first. I don't know. It's too soon to tell for now, but just know that your girl is taken care of. With that being said, H Banana 7 on episode 6 said that Shibagaki working part-time makes me a little sad. He's so passionate for comedy, even putting his life on the line for it. Yeah, I definitely agree that Shibagaki, I've gone a little bit of a soft spot for him in the last episode when they made it to the semifinals and he was like, yeah, because he really does. Shibagaki really does. He appreciates the comedy sphere for what it is. He's very traditionalist. He's very much like appreciates what it is. And, Baba at this point kind of feels like a sellout. And Shibagaki is, working really hard to try to keep within that realm of his goals. And Baba he's still keeping with it, but it's more out of like obligation than his actual passion. And I think it's a good commentary about how, you may start out with someone having the same dream and ambition, but people change over time and they can grow apart over time. And that's natural. It just happens. And I think that Baba and Shibagaki can still be friends, but they need to kind of understand that they're at different levels than they were prior. So we'll see where that goes. I did go back today and watch the English dub for episode 8 because I wanted to hear Yano's English dub voice after last week. And I will say, he's good. I like the Japanese sub better because it flows better because it's the native language. So that all checks out. Shimayama in the Discord shared that the rapper that voices Yano is known as Meteor and shared some of his work. Really good. And then in the English dub, he's voiced by Darius Johnson, who has done a few other roles at this point, but he does a great job as Yano. I was really like impressed with what Johnson did because getting rapping vocals and matching the lip movements, and he still finds a way with the script to make some of the lines rhyme. Like they don't all rhyme because just translation doesn't allow for it in what you've got to work with, but he makes it do really good. And Darius Johnson does a great job. Love him. But I will say, so far, I think my favorite English dub voice in Odd Taxi is Lucian Dodge, who voices Eiji. If you go back and watch episode 8 in the English dub, Eiji's voice is just, Lucian Dodge voices Eiji with such patheticness. Like there's you get the vibe of Eiji through the English dub. Because sometimes, let's be real, and it's no fault to the English dub actors. It is no fault to the English dub actors because the Japanese sub actors are the same way. They're just playing people, right? But when you get a character down so well in the dub, it's just like it works so well. And Lucian Dodge, just the way that Eiji oozes pathetic desperation of this middle-aged man, So well done. Loved it. Lucian Dodge, I've really liked their voice acting in other English dub works. They played Zoisite in Sailor Moon, and I'm like, yes, please. Yes, be Zoisite. Of course. One of my faves. But they also voiced Mahito in the Jujutsu Kaisen dub, which is, it's a trip. That dub is a trip. And then they voiced Akaza in Demon Slayer in the dub. And now that I've heard them play Eiji, imagining Eiji and Akaza as the same voice actor is fun. A lot of fun. But yes, I really liked I like the English dub of Odd Taxi a lot. I think it's really good. So also hearing, I think it's Roy Mustang's voice actor playing Gariki, it makes total sense. You're just like, well, of course, but it's just so fun. I'm just like, oh yeah, of course. But yeah, so anyway, I'm excited to see what's going to go down in this episode. Before we start, I want to give a big shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon to thank you all so much for your support of the channel and for your kind words. Everybody's being real tight-lipped on Odd Taxi, but it's for a reason, and I respect that. So thanks to Alex Cornejo, to Be Happy, to Bisa, to Alyssa, one of our new philanthropy tier members, as well as Dana, Damage3243, 3245, as well as Devorin, Daniel, Destiny Marie, Danger Zone, which is where we're headed in this series at this point, as well as Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, El Freyo, Liam Polzel, Linden, Murphew, Willie Morris, Mochi Kun, Sunspots, Shimoyama, and Translucent Men. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love to all the philanthropy tier members, as well as everybody on Patreon that has subscribed, follows the channel. And if you don't have money for Patreon, it's fine. Just thank you for liking and subscribing and commenting on the videos on my channel, because that helps generate outreach. And I want more people to see the work that I do. So there you go. Anyway, I'm super excited to start this episode. I hope you are too. It's been about 12 days since I've watched episode 8. That's how far ahead I got, and now this is how much I'm catching up, so that's a fun time. But we're going to start episode 9, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. Curiouser and curiouser. This episode was crazy. This episode had a lot going on. I am very sad for the fact that we didn't have Yano. I miss Yano already. But I'm sure this is not the last we've seen of them, especially because Dobu as well as Odokawa busted Eiji out. And the thing of it is, Odokawa and Yano have seen one another. They just didn't know that they were seeing one another. And so I think that maybe Odokawa knows who Yano is, but I don't think Yano knows who Odokawa is. But he's going to now, because he's going to be like, you busted out my hostage. And if he talks too much, that might be a problem. So, and the thing of it is, I don't think Eiji would talk too much, because I don't think he was paying attention to a lot of the conversations that were going on, because he was so distressed about Shiho. But Yano doesn't know that. And Yano's probably thinking, if this guy spills the beans, we could be in a lot of trouble, and all the mystery kiss stuff could come out and be ruined. So we'll just have to see. I wonder if Eiji is going to maybe stumble across like a mystery kiss performance and recognize Shiho and then like tell him or whatever, because I've mapped out on the board here the tangled web. It's maybe a little bit hard to see because my marker was slowly dying as I was writing it. But the idea of all of these characters connecting at this point in the story, we're going to go through it here in a little bit as we go, but this episode was really, really good. So yeah, so we start out the episode with Little Diamond talking to Odokawa, and Little Diamond's on here. Little Diamond and Big Diamond. Big Diamond's working with Dobu. Odokawa knows this. We didn't see him at all this episode. Odokawa is working with Little Diamond and letting him know everything that's going on. He's like, and of course, because Little Diamond doesn't want his brother to get in trouble, he's like, well, maybe he was just desperate and just named my brother because he didn't see another option. And it's like, okay. You sure about that? And I love these, like, your love for your brother is beautiful. So yeah, he's like, but that's good enough for me. So he's like, my friend may have been kidnapped. I'm going to go rescue him. I think that Odokawa and Dobu both did some like psychological inquiries in this episode. I feel like Odokawa knows that Little Diamond, he's kind of simple and he needs to you need to speak to him in very general terms. So he's like, I'm going to go fight evil. if we're going to fight evil together, I'm going to need you to help stop this bank from being robbed. And Little Diamond's like, well, I guess. So they agree to work out through this. And they're like, look, we're trying to be the good guys here. This episode's called The Hero's Melancholy. He's like, basically this whole first part was setting up that Little Diamond is going to help him when the time comes, right? And Little Diamond is prepared to help out and stop Dobu. I love that Odokawa is plotting this entire plot to bring down Dobu and everybody tied to him in one fell swoop, as he says. I love it. So anyway, we get to, from here, Odokawa is seeing the Shiba Taichi Kabasawa. We're going to talk about Kabasawa, but it's saying #judgment, #amazing episode, video of shooting at Shinjuku Cabaret Club acquired. And he has 2.1 million subscribers. Oh my gosh. And he has a Twitter. The thing that's crazy about this is it is a commentary, as we'll talk about with the Rabbit Girl when she comments about Kabasawa, that just because you have a lot of followers does not mean that those followers are in good faith or like you. Mainly, a lot of them might be following you to like track your crashing out and downfall, or they could be hate followers or whatever. As somebody that creates content, it is very easy to fall into that desire and envy for creators that have lots of followers. And I deal with that all the time. I've talked to my moderators about it. I've talked in updates on my channel about it, because, you know, when you're someone that puts in a lot of work, you want to see that work get rewarded. And I feel like it's rewarded. I have a really good Patreon. I have a lot of really dedicated people that comment and that talk about the shows with me, and people that communicate in the Discord. Like, I'm very lucky, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And it's hard sometimes to kind of like not be tempted by greed. It really is, because there's all like the program, YouTube itself, it constantly tries to show analytics in your face. And in a lot of ways, I know Murder of Birds, who's a content creator, was actually the first reactor I ever watched, which them alongside A Semblance of Sanity got me into wanting to be a reactor. But I remember Murder of Birds was talking about in one of his videos that it's just the YouTube software itself is designed to make you feel inadequate, and it makes you feel like you're never doing well enough, right? And ProZD has talked about this in his videos, just that the design of the website, it makes you feel like if you're not, you know, if you're not a partner with them, if you're not checking out certain things, if you're not following trends, then you kind of get lost sometimes. And so it's very tempting to want to follow trends and not be, you know, not say anything that's going to upset anybody. Or the alternate is you either need to be so bland and general that anybody can like you and you're not taking any risks, or you're rage baiting and people are following you just for, you know, just for the clout, just to see what all you're going to post. And Kabasawa is kind of the latter, right? More of like a rage bait poster that gets people to follow. The thing about it is, I don't think Kabasawa realizes it. I don't think he realizes what he's doing as far as like the rage baiting and everything. I think he genuinely thought he was being this big content creator that was like he didn't even think of himself as a freelance journalist, but he thought he was kind of doing similar work. And it's like, no, my dude, no. And the girl in the hotel room kind of nails it on the head when we get to that scene. But it's just the stuff like Kabasawa's story makes me go, oh no, I'm very glad that I don't have to deal with that. But Odokawa, that was me getting off my soapbox now. Odokawa basically sends a message saying, an hour from now, Dobu's going to be at the wharf. Be a real hero. The hero's melancholy indeed. Like, Odokawa set a lot of this up. It was so well done. But on the other end, there was a lot he could not predict that was happening in this. So Dobu shows up, beer in hand, Colt 45 and 2 zigzags. Baby, that's all he needs. And so then we cut to Kabasawa. Now, Kabasawa, I watch a lot of de-influencing videos in my spare time when I'm editing. They're nice to put on because you don't have to really necessarily follow them. You can just have them playing in the background. I follow a lot of those. And a lot of them talk about out-of-touch influencers and things like that. And this was, you know, this came out in 2021. But oh, how it was ahead of its time, because I have watched so many videos talking about out of touch influencers on social media, And a lot of them kind of do exactly what Kabasawa has done. The clout and the fame gets to your head. He dropped out of school. He dropped out of anything. It was like, I'm going to be a full-time content creator, do all these things. And he goes to this fancy hotel, wines and dines, buys the bottle of wine, gets the room service. And then we have him with the woman. Of course, she's a rabbit. Of course she is. And she makes this monologue. This monologue was great. I was like paying attention to it. I didn't react much because I wanted to hear what she had to say. You've not uploaded a lot of videos recently. And then we see her clothes and his clothes on the ground. You should catch Dobu soon and become a real hero. He looks very disgruntled about this. Like they've had sex and she's like, oh, hey, by the way, maybe you should be like an actual hero since that's what you've been touting this whole time. You know, you've been getting a lot more haters recently. They're saying you're not a hero, that you're just an approval-hungry monster, and that you're scared of Dobu, that you brainwashed them into making offerings, but they've come to their senses. Which, you know, if you're an influencer that makes all these promises and then you don't deliver on them, you know. I also like, this is something that's very, like, minuscule, but also kind of funny. When I was growing up, a lot of people said that like the blue eyeshadow was tacky and kind of like gaudy, and this rabbit girl has it and just made me think of that. But then she says that once you peel back your pretense of divinity, you're just an ordinary guy, that you're just a one-hit wonder, and that you're sleeping with your female followers. And she's like, oh, well, that last one's true. At least she was just like, you know, okay with it. You know, it's consensual. She's like, I'm down for it, right? But here's the thing. He gets mad at this and she's like, it frustrates me, you know? I can't just tell them Kabasawa-sama is the real deal. Looking at you lately, I realize you really are. And then he tells her to shut up. Because, I mean, she's been with him, seen him in the flesh. They say don't ever meet your heroes. She's seen him in the flesh and knows that some of the stuff that people have been saying is maybe not inaccurate. And he tells her to shut up. And he's like, you don't know me. I like when he said something, goes, you don't know me. Also, first of all, kudos to this series for like showing an in bed post-sex scene. This series is actually kind of risque and they pull it off because everybody's cutesy animals. But I'm like, oh, this is actually a little bit mature, you know? He's like, you don't know me. Society made all this fuss about me. They thrust this attention on me and put me in the line of fire. When he said, though, that he didn't ask to be deified, I'm pretty sure you could go back online in this series to Zwitter and find all the evidence you would need from all the videos, like back around Halloween where he was asking to be a god. He did that exactly. He did ask to be deified. And now that it's happened, he can't keep up with the ramifications of that. So he can't keep up with the consequences. He's like, I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. And then he lifts up the lamp and says, this is who your God is. And honestly, this was the point where I'm glad she smacked the shit out of him. Because when he smashed the lamp and said, leave, bitch, and she just smacked him, I'm like, good. Good for you, girl. Because, yeah, I'm like, you didn't have to get violent. You didn't have to smash that lamp. You didn't have to yell at her. She was not yelling at you. She was actually talking really calmly. It's just his insecurity he projected upon her. I'm glad she smacked him and left. Good for her. Because she definitely is not coming back. And yeah. And, you know, he's just sitting there, you know, being like, oh, poor me. But I'm like, you brought this on yourself, sir. You underestimated the power of the clout and everything that came with the fame. So then he gets the email and is like, oh my God, I could go where Dobu is. And Odokawa is such a genius. A few episodes ago, I was like, why was he taking the picture of Dobu? He was taking it so he could send it. Like, Odokawa is a little scary because he's kind of ahead of everybody on these things. And I'm like, I don't know what to think of you, sir. Like, it's kind of cool. So anyway, this whole chase scene, oh my God. So Dobu's like, you know, you've really made it, haven't you, Odokawa? And so they're talking about, you know, them working together and what to do with Kakihana And, you know, the girl, and basically Odokawa explains what's been happening the last couple episodes and that he knows everything going on. And Dobu's like, no, that's Yano's gig. We're not getting involved. And Odokawa's like, well, then I'm not helping you if we don't bust my friend out. He's like, well, you're the one obsessed with hierarchies and pledges made over sake cups. Yano's your junior, so why not? And he's like, no, it's an unspoken rule. I may not get along with Yano, but we're both trying to make money for the boss, and it's an unspoken rule of us getting in each other's territories. Well, but here's the thing. Honestly, Yano at this point has been talking about trying to use Dobu and then profiting off of what Dobu's doing. So in a sense, Yano's kind of not obeying the law either. So both of them say they have this unwritten rule, but then they're both kind of trying to profit and stab each other in the back. So, you know, does that really hold water, right? Now, when this van started following them, I thought that it was Yano. I thought it was Yamamoto or the polar bear, and that they were like, they'd figured out something with Dobu and they were trying to get the dash cam data. That's what I thought. And I was like, well, it's probably not going to be Tanaka. Was wrong within 20 seconds. Instantly proven wrong. That was terrifying. That was the scariest shit, where he just like instantly tried to ram into them and then shot at them. That was terrifying. No, Tanaka is crazy. Tanaka is dangerous. He is crazy. We should not, and they, like, when the light was green, they cut in front of that traffic. Like, that was not safe at all. No, Tanaka's unhinged. We're gonna get to the point at the wharf, but oh my god. So anyway, Dobu's like, I like that Dobu, when he threw the bottle at the windshield, that part was fun. So then Odokawa sees the cat. Of course it's a cat. Of course it is. This white cat, and he swerves, and Tanaka, you know, goes past them, and instead of hitting Odokawa, he runs into the parked car. At least it was a parked car. Thank God, nobody was probably in it. And Odokawa's like, we're not sticking around. We're getting out of here. He has a gun. I really don't want to die. So Odokawa gets out, and I am a little concerned for him for many reasons. One, his hoodie is just covered in dirt and grime. But also now it's covered in blood, like he legit hurt himself in that crash. I'm like, Tanaka freaks me out. I'm like, this guy is going to die or kill someone in this show, and I'm really worried. Also, how many bullets this guy got? He's fired off at least 3. He's fired off 4 in this episode, right? He fired 3. He fired 1 at the car the first time. The second as he was driving away. The third, he got Dobu's leg. Did he fire it a 4th time? I don't think that he did. I think that he just tried to ram him instead. Okay. And Dobu's like, we could have gone back and got the gun. And Odokawa's like, nope. Here's the thing. Tanaka does not factor into Odokawa's plans at all. Tanaka is this wild card, this ace that is just running loose and running rampant. And Odokawa's like, this one entity does not factor in to any of my plans. So we just need to stay away from him, because everything else I've got a plan around, but Tanaka I don't. So we're going to need to stay away from him. So yeah, so the one guy, the polar bear, which I really like his character a lot. This episode, he gets the shit beat out of him. He takes Eiji to this one room to lock him up in. Then we get to the wharf. And I want to talk about this. Odokawa looks at the water, and Dobu says, why are you scared of water? And he says, who knows? Maybe I drowned in a previous life. So there were several things that were talked about with water in this episode. So with the water, you have Odokawa saying that maybe they drowned in a previous life. That's ominous as hell. Is that going to come back into this? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Then we had Dobu when he tossed Kabasawa's phone. And we're going to talk about that when we get to it, because I was like, oh no. And then you had Eiji when he tossed the ring into the river. So we had 3 instances. Now, has Odokawa, when he said he died in a previous, toss this for my dog. When he said he died in a previous life, has he thrown somebody into the river? Did he get thrown into the river? Is there a body thrown into the river? They fished a body out of the river, and we haven't found out whose body it was. We think it might have been the girl's. I don't know. I put out here to the side, we're going to talk about the landlord. The landlord, I feel, was like a big reveal in this episode. Not just what she was talking about, but her in general. But the black cat that we think might be the missing girl, and then the possible sibling or her that's the dance member, they're over here. I think it's very convenient to the plot that we've not had much about the dancer that's the black cat. We've had a ton with Shiho. We've had a ton with Rui. The other one, we have not focused on hardly at all. And I think that's intentional. I think because we are led to believe that they might be connected to the missing girl, we've not seen them a lot in this, and we're not going to see a lot of them until the end of the series. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, he talks about maybe I drowned in a previous life. So then, yeah, the polar bear's like, we're going to use you to make money. I was like, I do not want to think about the idea of Yano prostituting out Eiji as a moneymaker. That's terrifying. But yeah, when they open up, man, don't underestimate Dobu. That was the name of the game in this episode. Dobu has come across as maybe kind of incompetent and maybe somewhat of a dimwit at times. He's very competent when he needs to be. And the fact that Dobu was able to beat up the polar bear, that was crazy to me. That was wild. Because, yeah, when he comes out and he's like, oh, what does he say here? Because he comes out here, has the thing, and then has the taser. And he's like, well, if it isn't Dobu-san. He's like, Sekiguchi. Sekiguchi is his name. I got his name completely wrong on here. So it's Sekiguchi. I like Sekiguchi a lot. His English voice actor is really good too. But yeah, he's like, oh, sorry, hey. But yeah, the fact that he was able to kind of subdue him with like a grip is crazy. He's like, you're out running Badger games. I could say the same for you. And then he's like, I'm going to chuck this guy into the sea. I thought when he said that we were going to have a flashback to the OP, but not yet. And Odokawa was like, cool, I'm going to get my friend and go. Bye. I don't think that Dobu is going to be mad at Odokawa for leaving. I think he'll gripe at him, but I don't think he's going to be mad at Odokawa leaving with Eiji, because if he'd stuck around, it might not have worked out. So I think since he ended up with Kabasawa's car, he's going to be like, whatever. And then the way that Odokawa describes him being like, they're idiots. They don't know how to express their feelings. They use duty and human nature as an excuse for violence. And so many people do. And like Odokawa out here spitting truth bombs. It's what you'd expect from living creatures. Now, he said living creatures, not humans. I just want to point that out. He said living creatures, not humans. That's going to come into play with the landlord later. But Odokawa, this entire episode, makes a lot of references to animals. Just saying. Lots of little references to animals. But damn, the fight between Dobu and Sekiguchi was so good. Again, this series is so much darker and more mature than it lets on. You're just sitting there watching these guys beat the shit out of each other, and you're like, what a cute polar bear and monkey. And I'm like, those guys are getting hurt. Mm-hmm. Thank God Eiji's okay. And he took him to Gariki's. Yep. So they take off, and he's like, I let Kakihana escape. If you beat me, I won't be able to face Yano. And Dobu's like, well, it's your fault you couldn't beat me. Why don't you take this opportunity to quit doing low-tier jobs like Badger games? And then he just beats the snot out of him. Yano's going to be pissed. Yano is not going to be happy when all this goes down. So you know we've got, there's 13 episodes in the main series. So we have 10, 12, 11, 12, 13. We have 4 episodes left. This definitely feels like it was ramping up, right? I said rule of 8, but rule of 9 could pass as well. I'm so pathetic. Okay, so then he turns the corner, right? He turns the corner, and then when he turns the corner, there is the gun. But now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Who we saw with the gun, I don't think that's Tanaka. I don't think that's Tanaka. Because that gun is smaller. Right? I want to go back. Okay, that's at 11 minutes, 20 seconds. I want to go back to see him get out of the car. No, it's not the same one. Oh, bitch! It's not the same guy. Because the gun that Tanaka has, I want to see, yeah, the gun that Tanaka's hands are like a darker shade of blue. And then when he gets out of the car and takes off, and he gets out with the gun, it had a blue. Yeah, no, the gun has a longer barrel on it. It's not a Derringer. Oh, bitch. Oh my God. So was it one of the diamonds? Was it Little Diamond that shot at him? Okay, because at the moment, Dobu is not paying attention, right? He's just like, I nearly got myself. He's like, I nearly got, killed there. And he turns the corner and then somebody fires a gun at him and he goes down. And he's like, damn it. And he says, the skull mask. I don't think it was Tanaka. No, I think it was Little Diamond, because Little Diamond knew that Dobu was going to be at the wharf. He knew he was. He knew he was going to be at the wharf, so he would have known where to go. Big Diamond has no reason to shoot at him whatsoever. Little Diamond does. Little Diamond's going to do the night the lights went out in Georgia in all of this and just kill Dobu, and then nobody will know it was him. Oh my God. It wasn't Tanaka. I think that was Little Diamond that fired the shot at him. And here's the other thing. When it happened in the episode, there wasn't a lot of time to talk about during the reaction because Kabasawa showed up. But I was like, one, I don't think Tanaka would have fired at Dobu anyway, because he's saving the bullets for Odokawa. He doesn't care about Dobu. He's saving the bullets for Odokawa, so he wouldn't have fired at him. And two, if Tanaka was firing at you, he's shooting to kill. And I'm like, not at your legs. So I think Little Diamond shot Dobu. This is crazy. This is getting crazy. This is getting so crazy. So yeah, and so Dobu's like, well, son of a bitch, and that's when Kabasawa shows up. Yep. I like Yano. Oh, if you look at 11 minutes and 33 seconds, on the wall, there's a record and it says Meteor Diamond, which is the actor playing Yano. That's so good. That's so good. I love it. That's cute. I like that a lot. So then, Odokawa talks with Eiji, saying, remember how you went to Hakone for off-campus education in high school, and you bought a Yosegi puzzle box as a souvenir. So we find out that Odokawa and Eiji have known each other since high school. They have been friends since high school, so they've been friends for a very long time. And he's like, yeah, I did. He's like, one with 36 steps. He's like, you kept it in your bag for a while. You'd perform all 36 steps and open the thing like a show-off. Do you remember what happened to the box? He's like, you left it on top of the shoe cupboard in the entryway. Interesting. And when a delivery man arrived, your mom tried to open it through trial and error. The delivery man watched her the entire time, and she smashed it open and got the stamp out like an otter. That was one thing to me, because in the flashback, if you look, the mom looks like a monkey, like Eiji. But Odokawa talks about, one, how did Odokawa know the story unless maybe Eiji told him the story and has just forgotten and Odokawa remembered. But when he says you got it out like an otter, I'm like, Odokawa uses animals to help identify things, and particularly people. He said you got in a lot of trouble later. He's like, you've been pathetic ever since. And he's like, God. And they kind of laughed it off, being like, you've been pathetic since high school. So here's the thing. Kabasawa records Dobu saying, I'm Kabasawa, give it up, you punk. Apologize to everyone in the world. And Dobu's like, I'm going to kill this mofo. And he's like, haters, you shitheads who did nothing but heckle me from safety. And he's like, you all talked a lot of shit about me. And in the end, I got Dobu all by myself. And then Dobu's like, do you have a gun? I love that Dobu's like, I'm not going to kill you unless there's a chance you can kill me. And the only way you're going to kill me is if you got a gun. So you got one or not. Dobu is not reckless. Tanaka is a reckless homicidal maniac at this point. Dobu is not. Dobu is kind of slimy. He's slimy. He's a criminal. But he's not reckless. And he's not stupid enough to kill somebody unless he feels there's a chance he's going to die. Also, the fact he did all of this while being shot in the leg. I'm like, you gonna make a tourniquet or something for that, sir? Are ya? He's like, do you have a gun? And then apparently whoever it was ran away, which again, now it makes much more sense if the theory is that it's Little Diamond. It makes much more sense because Tanaka would not have ran away. Tanaka, while he was there, is crazy enough to have gone balls to the walls. But Little Diamond, being safe and reserved, would have left the crime scene. And Odokawa doesn't know that all this is going down. Ugh. So there's a chance that Little Diamond has shot Dobu. Okay. But so Kabasawa reveals how he really is through this psychological therapy session that Dobu leads. And I'm like, what in the world? He's like, let's hear what you have to say. He's like, what? And he's like, well, I can't beat you in a fight. He's like, you didn't even try. Is your sense of justice and resolve that weak? And it is. He's a coward. Now, again, I think Dobu does a lot of this because he has realized that Kabasawa is really weak-willed. And if you're going to try to make somebody your minion, you got to find people that are weak-willed. Like, it is very easy to understand why Yamamoto works for Yano, because Yamamoto is... I wouldn't describe Yamamoto as narcissistic like Dobu describes Kabasawa, but Yamamoto is greedy and just wants fame and greed and money. And so him working for Yano's able to easily manipulate him. And I feel like Kabasawa essentially could become to Dobu what Yamamoto is to Yano. So we'll see how that goes because they're both kind of tied to like the media industry and stuff like that. He's like, why don't you try reflecting on the principles that drove you to act? I'm like, Dobu, have you been a psychologist? Are you taking like steps from Odokawa? He's like, let's dig a little deeper. I'm like, he could become a psychologist if he'd quit being a criminal. You know, I think Dobu has a profession if he wants to, step away from his life of crime. He's like, you wanted the approval of others, huh? You have no self-esteem. Because you have no confidence, you can't approve of yourself. You're more narcissistic than anyone. Now, at first, Kabasawa's like, I'm not a narcissist. He's like, I hated who I was before the attention. He's like, receiving attention didn't magically make me like myself. It felt good, so it kept escalating. Now, when it showed it was still recording, I thought, okay, he could maybe edit this, or he could later on post the footage, or it could end up, if he doesn't end up posting it, it could end up in the hands of someone else. Possibly, but the moment Dobu made him throw the phone away, I was like, well, there went that. So that plot line is not going anywhere. He's like, I despise who I am, and I wanted to disappear, and I wanted to die. The only thing I can think is if maybe Kabasawa, while he was posting the other video, saved that note, that recording, and sent it to himself or someone else on the web. Maybe that's how it saved before the phone was destroyed. I don't know. Your extreme rejection of hatred for yourself is narcissism. Ooh, that's so good. Normal people aren't that interested in themselves. Yikes. And so then when he said find a mentor you can trust, not just an unspecified large number of people, it's kind of like he wants him to trust Dobu and maybe, be a tutelage under him. Yeah. So he's like, oh, I hear you, Dobu. And again, the fact that Taichi Kabasawa is so easily changed by Dobu's magical words kind of just shows, because I don't think it's Kabasawa trying to lead Dobu astray. I think he's just generally that easy to manipulate, which, what can you do? So he then says, I'm going to resume looking for a job and live my life one day at a time. And he's like, well, I'm not running a self-improvement seminar here. I don't make an honest living, as you know. You need to compensate me. So the moment he says you need to compensate me, Kabasawa just talks about everything. He's like, I have an apartment. I have a car. I have extra money. What do you want? And he's like, wise choice. He's like, let's talk about what I want. He's like, you're a good person, Dobu-san. No, he's not. So anyway, we go back to Goriki with him and Odokawa, and Eiji is there. And Goriki is like, okay, what is your plans after all this? And Odokawa says he's going to take down Dobu and his whole organization. And Goriki says, you're taking down a whole organization. You're just a taxi driver. Are you avenging Shirakawa? And Goriki tries to say, Shirakawa is somewhat to blame in all this. And she is. I think that both Goriki and Odokawa are right and are maybe not right, in the senses that I think that Goriki is correct in that Shirakawa was very weak and she was taken advantage of, but she did have the options to not be taken advantage of, and she could have stopped at a certain point and gotten away. But Odokawa makes the point. I don't know if I agree about Stockholm Syndrome. I don't know if I agree about that with her, because she's able to walk. Here's the thing. Shirakawa's walked away. She's gotten away from Dobu. If it really was Stockholm Syndrome, she would still be trying to get with him, but she's not. So I don't really buy into that. But I do buy into the fact that Odokawa has probably seen how quickly Eiji got wrapped up in all of this, and how Eiji was literally about to be used by Yano for an indefinite period of time. So I think Odokawa knows just how easily it is, also from working with Dobu, to get caught up in all this and to lose yourself in it, right? And so Goriki and him kind of have a little differing opinion about that. She was controlled by violence and threats. And Goriki's like, well, that's no reason for you to cross this bridge. And he's like, do you love her that much? And Odokawa does love her. I think he does love her, but he doesn't want... Odokawa wants to, finish up everything and get things set right before going back to her so that she's not in any danger. So yeah, Kawasawa posts this video about being defeated, and he's going to erase all of his accounts, and that Dobu did nothing wrong. And then I like at the end, he says, I'm offering no refunds. After all that, he's like, I'm not giving you any money back. Sorry, bye. Like a scam artist, just cut and run, right? But Dobu told him to do that. And Odokawa's like, man, Dobu is tough. Both Sekiguchi and Kawasawa lost to him. Dobu is definitely a survivalist for sure. But he's like, okay. And then he just tosses the phone in the river. Yep, off the wharf. He's like, I'm just grateful I didn't make it. I made it through unscathed. And he's like, well, taking your car. And he just limps away. We'll see about that unscathed business. The thing about it is, we don't know what the connection is for Odokawa and the pond and the river and the lake, whatever it is, the body of water. With Kawasawa's phone, it represented everything about his life up until that point and the fame and the cloud he'd been chasing. But Dobu throwing it away was kind of like a rebirth for him. Only the thing is, Kawasawa can't go back and retrieve the phone. It's too deep. The wharf's too deep. You can't go and retrieve it. Eiji also experiences a rebirth by tossing the ring. But whereas Kawasawa accepts Dobu and this restructuring, Eiji is not quite ready to accept the restructuring because he goes back to the river and he tries to retrieve the ring again. So, interesting. So then Goriki goes to the house and the landlord is there. The landlord is interesting. So the landlord talks about the police showing up, but here's the thing. She just thinks the police showed up, but it's Little Diamond. So we know the truth. His window is broken. Now that part is creepy, and that is Tanaka's doing, most likely. And then Odokawa said he was going to move because he didn't want to cause trouble. And Goriki's like, was that a problem? And she says, it's a huge problem. I'm his guardian. I've received enough rent for him to live here for life. So I want to look up Japan Orphanage Foundation support for rent. Are there such a thing? Are there such things? There's a Japan Children's Support Association. Okay. So it says they're a team of advocates for children's well-being. They support new and expectant mothers. Da, 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 da. They have foster families. Think that. Wow. It says approximately 36,000 children are not able to live with their birth parents and are living in orphanages. That's crazy. Huh. 22% of children go into foster care in Japan. That's wild. Interesting. So I'm sure that there are foundations that do support people in these situations. So Odokawa is being sponsored by a foundation and has been sponsored since the 5th grade. I suspected his parents were dead the whole time and that the parents missing. I was like, but Odokawa's like 40 and his parents haven't come back yet. I'm like, that seems weird. So I kind of suspected they were dead the whole time, but we get confirmation of it in this episode. And so, but the fact that he's been able to pay off everything and could essentially live rent-free for life is wild. But since he started working, he's been paying more than his rent. He told me to return the money to the foundation's representative, and he's been living here since the 5th grade. He's been living off the foundation's money. Yes, sometimes he eat at my place, but for the most part, he would refuse. Now, at this point, we cut to outside. I helped him with any necessary business at school in the public office. We see this little dog outside the window. The dog outside the window is the same as her. So did Odokawa, seeing her, associate the dog with her? And that's why she's a dog. Crazy talk, because it's not wearing clothes, so I don't think it's her kid. Yeah. So he says, could you tell me the name of the representative or the foundation? And she says, well, in their condition in exchange for not seeking profit or tax benefits is to remain anonymous. And I'm like, that's sketchy as hell. But okay, that's mysterious. Why is that? He's like, that's not what I meant. If he's moving, then I intend to return the money that I've been holding on to. So he's from Shiroku in Chichibu. Shiroku. And he lived alone. He was living at an orphanage. Was he living at an orphanage or was family not an option? It's what Odokawa-kun wanted. And that's when she drops the bombshell that the parents are dead. So, curiouser and curiouser. I don't know exactly what Odokawa's situation or what his condition is. I'm so curious about that. But we're going to find out by the end of this. It's just there's more and more things that are getting shady and adding up that I'm like, but why? But why? So, oh, that's so curious. Ooh, I don't know. But anyway, so here's where we're at, right? So Odokawa has a relationship with Shirakawa. Shirakawa's off by herself right now because Odokawa doesn't want her getting involved in all this. Fair. Kabasawa is now working with Dobu and knows Odokawa. And honestly, if Kabasawa and Odokawa get known, that's going to be a whole thing. But honestly, now that Dobu's thrown away the phone and Kabasawa has said he's not doing the account, he could find out that Odokawa is involved and it wouldn't make a difference. But then Little Diamond, I think he shot Dobu. Big Diamond's involved. Unless Big Diamond is shooting Dobu because he doesn't want his little brother involved. That could be, but we don't know. That's mysterious. Then there is Goriki, who's trying to figure out about Odokawa's past and wrapping all this together and being a Sherlock himself. And then meanwhile, they both know Eiji, who's been saved, thank goodness. But who knows what's going to happen with him now. Then there's Tanaka, who is still the most dangerous character in this whole show. Tanaka is dangerous because he doesn't care. There is no agenda except to kill Odokawa. That's it. Because, Yano and Dobu have parameters to what they do because they want to continue doing what they do. Tanaka is dangerous because he's at a point where he doesn't care. He just wants to hurt Odokawa and that's it. And that's dangerous. I don't like that. No. Then we have Shibagaki. Shibagaki and Baba are both in the semifinals of the comedy contest. Shibagaki is still working part-time at the Cabaret Club, which is where Amai is. Amai has won the $1 billion, which Yano is planning on stealing from him somehow or trying to get Dobu to steal from him. So we'll see how that goes. And then Amai is a fan of Mystery Kiss with Rui and Shiho and the Black Cat dancer. And Yamamoto's managing them all. Yamamoto's trying to get the dashcam data from Odokawa for reasons. And then Rui is apparently in a relationship with Baba. So, and then Yano's over here facing Dobu and trying to use each other. So it's just all over the place. This web gets more webby. And now we have the mystery of Odokawa's backstory that's looming in the background. And how is Yano going to react to all of this? Is Tanaka going to make it to kill anybody? Is he going to die beforehand? I don't know. But we have 4 episodes left. So this definitely felt, episode 8 and 9 felt like the transition to the final arc. It definitely feels that way. So I guess we'll see. But in any case, I'm excited. I hope you all are as well. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. I'm excited to hear your comments down below, but I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'll be back very soon with more of Odd Taxi. Bye.